and welcome. I have a special guest today for the next episode of our Elephant Project. Please welcome together with me, Ericka Kelly, business owner, author, veteran of U.S. military in the Air Force, Command Chief Master Sergeant, I hope I got it right, and ex-law officer, law enforcement officer. And you've beautifully said, wearing multiple hats in one person. And I really I'm so grateful that you said yes to our interview, because I feel you have so many beautiful gifts to share with others. And also the way how you're showing up, I feel it inspires me. And I wanted to share you with others. So also other women and men can be inspired by you, by how you're showing up. And I can only imagine, I'm actually curious about our conversation, because I see that from all those different hats that you've worn, that there's a lot of strength, resilience, and at the same time, you still keep your beautiful smile, and there's a gentleness around you that I believe that combination is really powerful and inspiring. So thank you. Thank you for saying yes and sharing your wisdom with us. Thank you.
Well, Lucy, I'm the one that is truly blessed to be here. I am so impressed by you. I am impressed by the courage that you have and the platform that you are giving all of us in order for us to continue to grow and develop, and for us to share pieces of our lives in order to add value to others. Pretty amazing.
Thank you. Beautifully said. And yay to us, to all of us involved in the conversation, and to all of you who are watching and listening, who you have, kudos to you for your open hearts and minds to learn another perspective and allow us to make it happen and help each other. So thank you. So let's dive in. Our topic is still around resilience, where we explore different perspectives and seeing what is resilience to us. So usually the first question, or one of the first questions I ask, is, what is resilience to you personally when you hear resilience?
Yes, that's so deep, so personal. And in our society, we talk about being resilient. We talk about resiliency. And really, Lucy, it's so personal that it can have so many definitions. One definition is that something happens to us and we, like a coil, we just coil up, something happens and we jump up and then we continue. And for me, it hasn't been like that, Lucy. It hasn't been that perfect, recoiling and jumping back into life. Resiliency for me is having the capacity and the understanding that life is going to be tough, that life is going to just give us those ups and downs. And when one of those life hits is strong enough, big enough that it knocks us down, it's the ability, Lucy, of maybe sometimes staying put. Some people go, just get up and get up and go again. I say, stay put for enough time to analyze and to learn what just happened to you. Because some of those hits, you can't even get up by yourself. And I explain sometimes that we have to hold on to things. What am I feeling? What just happened? How did it happen? Can I get up? Nope. Stay put then. Get good. Get healthy. Can I get up now? Maybe. Hold on to a chair. Hold on to a table. Hold on to a friend. Can you stand on your own? Nope, not yet. And see the process of healing, the process of learning, the process of being able to walk forward again on solid ground, not jumping from a situation that hurt us with not enough information that we make the same mistake again. It's a way of resiliency for me, is a way of analyzing, absorbing the pain, getting stronger from that pain, getting up, looking, regrouping, shifting maybe, right? Readjusting, and then making a step forward. And so my definition of resiliency, or how to be resilient, sometimes is a little different than some people that just say, get up and just, suck it up and go forward. I don't think that way.
It sounds really, it's more of a process than just one time thing, just get up, right? It's more like analyzing, learn what happened, absorb the pain, see how you can check in, almost like reflect. Am I strong enough right now? Can I move, or how can I get support to move forward?
Yes. Yes.
I know that you also wrote a book with your business partner, or book partner, and the name of it is Persistence.
Yes.
And for me, persistence kind of relates to resilience. What would you say is the relationship there? Persistence, resilience.
Well, those two specific words, Lucy, in my life have been critical. And not the words themselves, but the definition of the words, the understanding of what it takes to be resilient, what it takes to be persistent. I can just speak from, let's say, a female perspective for a minute, in which at times in my life, at times in my careers, when I started law enforcement, I was one of few females. There had been other women before me, thank God for them. But my environment, when I was a new law enforcement special agent, I wasn't one of many. I was one of few, and I really did not feel welcomed, Lucy.
Yeah,
I did not feel welcomed. And it was very clear by my male counterparts, no disrespect to them today, that because they had not maybe worked with a woman before, they were not used to females being in a law enforcement role, their assumptions of who I was not who I was. I was, and I still am, right? Fit. I believe that I have intellect and value to bring to a room. And they didn't see that. They saw, and if I can use the word quota here, they saw female. She's here because they have to hire her. She's here because she's Hispanic. And some of the language that physically, I was sometimes moved from a room and out of the room. Some of the language was not kind. And I remember some of the men calling me twofer. Now, I'm from Central America. English is my second language, and I still have not mastered English. I still am learning. So
me
what
too.
is it? Yes. So what's a twofer? Yeah. Well, a twofer is Hispanic, check. Female, check. Twofer.
Two checks for, oh my goodness.
For the quota.
For the hiring.
Yes.
Oh my.
So they were not looking at my intellect. They were not looking at my physical
Oh,
fitness. They were not looking at how I could add value to them. They were looking at me as something that the agency had to do on purpose to meet a specific number that the government was mandating on them. Which, we can talk about the, what's the right side of the coin, because were quotas necessary? I don't know, but I can share with you and your audience that that word hurt me. The assumption that my coworkers thought that I was less of an employee, a less of an agent, because they thought I had to be hired. It took me a very long time, and that's where persistence comes in. It took me a very long time, Lucy and everyone, to prove step by step, right? Step by step, being persistent, just keep chipping at it to prove to them that I belonged there, that I had value, that my voice counted for something.
thank you. That's why I invited you here, because I knew you have some powerful stories to share. Thank you. So there's a blessing. So I'm so sorry for all the pain. And at the same time, I see it as now you being here and sharing that story, that I cannot wait to ask what supported you in persisting there. It's just because this your story, your strength, your perseverance can now support those who are in similar situations, that maybe it's their job that they feel not accepted by their environment, or it could be their community, their family, their peers, whatever age or situation they're in. I feel all of us can relate to being in an environment where we feel maybe we don't, or the others are not accepting of us for whatever reason. And it sounds like you are not being seen for the individual, for your strengths, for who you were. It was just like as a label, as a twofer, just to check. So disregard for who you are, for your achievements, for your strengths, for your um, individual qualities that you have. It was just wrapped into the label, and you had to prove yourself. I cannot imagine. What would you say gave you the strength? How did the story continue?
Lucy, I think that if those comments,
Mhm.
and if that situation, and that's one of multiple, yeah, one
Yeah.
of many, if that would have happened to me earlier in my life, I truly believe I would have folded. I truly believe that I would have not tried. But I needed to get out of my own way, Lucy. And I say that because I had, and I'm sure some of us have more baggage than others. And I needed to be healthy in my mind. I really needed to know who I was. So when I walked into that room, happy that I had that position, happy that I passed everything just like they did. And I earned my spot in the room. I knew who I was, and I knew what I brought to the table. And that was a journey on its own. So when I am being hit by resentment, by friction, by language, by physically removing me from different rooms, I knew who I was. And so your question of what made you keep going? Two things. My inner self was strong enough. That's why I'm always telling people self-growth, self-development, self-awareness. Invest in yourself. I was strong enough, Lucy. And then I knew that the men were not my enemy. My enemy was ignorance. My enemy was assumptions. My enemy was old conditioning, old beliefs, not them,
That's beautifully said.
not them.
I love it. I want to address both, but let's start with the first one first. You've mentioned your inner strength and knowing who you were. How did you get to the point of knowing who you were? How did you discover? What would you say about the process when somebody, how does somebody knows who they are?
Yeah, for me, my journey,
Mhm.
I had to be broken. I had to completely be broken in order for me to realize that I had a choice to reinvent and truly bring my full potential. And I say this, and I'll say this very quickly, Lucy. I was abandoned as a child and left to die when I was 5 years old. I survived an earthquake that destroyed really everything, or the little we had, that earthquake destroyed everything. I was brought to the United States really by force. I didn't want to come, and I was brought to this, this beautiful country, beautiful land. It's my country now, but I was brought here by force. And at the age of 16, Lucy, I'm looking at myself as a homeless teenager in the streets of Las Vegas. And at the age of 16, Lucy, I meet someone that is 32. And not that the age makes a difference, but it does. I was 16, broken. I mean, if you that list that I just gave, there was toxicity. Toxicity, is that how you say the word? Uh, just a lot of pain, a lot of violence in every single chapter of my life. And so here I am, 16, meeting someone that's 32. And that individual that I think is going to be my savior, it's going to be my supporter, is going to be someone that's going to, my goodness, give me finally security in my life, becomes my abuser. Because becomes someone that controls even if I'm going to eat or not eat. If someone that controls if I'm going to sleep on the floor or sleep in the bed with him, my husband. So when I, Lucy, when I went to the Air Force before I became a law enforcement officer. When I went to the Air Force, and I tell this to every audience I have, I was broken in 1,000 pieces. But the pain that my, at the time, husband, I was beaten really every day from the neck down, never the face, but from the neck down, I was beaten. And I remember now, I'll say it really, really fast. I remember running, Lucy. He's beating me. Somehow I get away from him. And my clothes is torn. I'm running down an alley. I'm holding on to my clothes, holding on to the clothes I have on. And I'm running through an alley and I see the windows of the apartments, the people looking down at me. And I'm like, oh, that's a weird. My mind, right, is playing games. And then I get stopped by lights. The police is right in front of me. And I stop running because of the lights. And I remember this officer coming out of, he gets out of the patrol car, sees me, takes his jacket off and puts it around me and kind of like hugs me, right, with the jacket, and pulls me in and says, Ericka, if we continue to do this, because it wasn't the first time, if we continue to do this, we're going to find your dead body in the desert one day.
Oh.
You have to. You, not anybody else. You have to do something to save you. And as crazy as that sounds, Lucy, that was the spark that I needed, because all that abuse, I thought it was normal. And here is this man telling me it's not normal. And you have a choice. And that spark is what drove me to go into the military. The military gave me tools and strength and the team and the family and everything that I needed to walk into that law enforcement room and be whole and be strong and truly understand what the enemy was. And it wasn't the people. It was the environment, it was culture, it was tradition, it was legacy, and everything else.
Thank you for sharing that story. I'm so sorry for all the pain and thank you for being here and persisting. And it sounds like you mentioned at the first that you are looking for somebody else to save you, that he would be the savior at the beginning when you met him. And then it seemed when the officer said, Ericka, it needs to be you to save you, that at that moment you made a choice to protect yourself. What would you say was at that moment, like, how do I save me? Do I deserve? What would be the new belief that maybe that moment happened? Or was it the
Yeah, no, Lucy, it was an incredible spark of awareness. Again, it wasn't a lightning that took over me.
Yeah.
It wasn't, Lucy. It was a spark, because I stayed in the situation. It's not like that happened and then everything else just fell into place. No, it was a spark that every time I stayed in the situation. So every time I would say, can I eat today? And he would say yes or no. Another thought would come in of, I have a choice of maybe being someplace else and not ever asking someone if I can eat or not. So the spark just ended up holding space enough that I was able to then be courageous enough, self-courage, to look at the Air Force as a way, an anchor, a way of creating distance from that relationship. It was a process, just like when we were talking about being resilient. Process.
Yeah.
And being persistent is not letting go of your dream, not letting go of your goal. If we have a job, we're giving someone 8 hours for a money, a salary. If we have a career, there's room in there to get promoted. But if we are living our purpose, and that's a completely different feeling. That's a completely way of truly understanding ourselves. And that, again, I'm telling you about that police officer, but at the time when that happened, it's not like, oh my gosh, you just changed my life, sir. No. Now I can look back and go,
and that was the spark. That was the beginning when things started shifted. Right.
That was the moment. That was the moment that woke me up enough to realize that I had worth, that I was valuable. Why? I did not know yet. But that man, that police officer, gave me value when he told me that my life mattered.
So many good good sparks in it. And I hope whoever hears this or watches us, our interview, shares the message with anybody else and also receives the message that they are worth it. Their life matters,
Of course.
no matter what their environment or family or friends tell them, or the TV messages, wherever messages, to really maybe plant the seed or have the spark that their life matters. And also possible to share that message with others, because we never know when those words can become a spark for somebody to save their life, transform their life.
Of course. Of course. Lucy, I'm not ashamed of telling my story. At one point in my life, in maturity, the way that we grow, um, I didn't want to tell people because I thought they were going to see me as weak, that I was going to be criticized, that I was, again, reinforce those labels of you're too small, you have an accent, get out of the room. But now, or the more I learn, um, as painful as those moments in my life were, sharing my story has, and I promise you this because people have told me, has changed people's lives. I remember sharing my story at a military event. Someone said, why did you join the military? You know, what made you go into the military? And most of the time, my typical answer was for education, for school, for an opportunity. And I left it clean, just like that. In that time, I decided, no, I'm going to say the situation that I was in, that the Air Force truly saved my life, literally saved my life, and why I'm so dedicated and loyal to the United States. And afterwards, there was a young man in the audience that comes over, uh, shakes my hand, and then says, "Can I give you a hug?"
Oh,
And I'm like, "Of course." And he says, "My mom and I hid for years from my father because she was in the same situation as you were with your ex-husband. And I can't wait to go home and tell my mom that I met you and to
oh,
tell her your story."
I have total goosebumps.
And in that moment, Lucy, is the moment that I knew that it didn't matter how uncomfortable I am or not. My comfort is completely secondary to the lesson, to changing someone's life, to helping someone understand how amazingly, uniquely they are made and the value that they have in this world. I hope I'm making sense.
You are making a huge sense, and I'm so grateful that we met and that I have the privilege, opportunity, joy, and honor to speak with you and to share you and your lessons with anybody who hears it or watches it. And what you just shared brought me back to your second part, of looking at the enemy not as the other man or people, but looking at the enemy as the assumptions, the prejudice, the labels. And I really want to acknowledge you for the courage to share your story. And I see that it's because of your big heart and care for others and the desire to make a difference. And that makes me always happy to see. And it seems that that is the huge value of contribution to others, that the discomfort or fear of judgment is means nothing in comparison to that contribution that you can make and actually literally save somebody's life. If any woman or anyone's friend who is watching this or hearing this is in a similar situation, then this hopefully will bring them a message of hope and the spark that can become a flashlight and maybe a torch to get out of whatever dark situation they are in currently.
Absolutely. No, and it's the awareness of understanding truly that it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work. It's sometimes it's a daily fight of that self-limiting belief or that voice that we have that is saying, you want to go through that door? You really, Ericka? Not you. Remember what happened here, here, here? And we ourselves are so good. We're experts at sabotaging our dreams.
Yeah.
Because our dream is right there waiting. And our dream is expecting for us to work for it. Right? It's like, I'm right here, but you need to work to get me. And we sabotage, even though we know that we have the tools, we can do it. We sabotage that. And you and I are coaches. And just because we're coaches doesn't mean that we don't need coaches, right? Coaches need coaches as well.
Yeah.
And to be able to highlight the blind spot of someone else, not as pointing a finger, but for them to gain the awareness of, I did not see that, but now I can. It's pretty amazing.
The power of the awareness sounds like brings the power to move forward or connect to the dreams,
Of
or
course.
stop sabotaging ourselves. You've mentioned before the power of the passion and feeling the passion and living out of that versus what was before. In your journey, what would you say? Because it seems like it's connected to what helps you persist, what helps you become resilient or be continuously in the process of resilience. What would you say supported you in connecting to the dream or feeling it? What comes up when you hear it?
Knowing that it's there.
Mm.
So important, Lucy.
Yeah.
Knowing that my dream, my purpose, my goal is right there. If I fall, it doesn't matter. My dream is still there. I just need to get up, regroup, and keep walking towards it. The minute that, example, if that dream disappeared, if life hit me, then I don't have anything to get up for. But if life hits me, cruelty, if I'm faced with cruelty, if I'm faced with unfairness and injustice and all that stuff, I got it. I got it. Is it hard? Yes. Is it painful? Yes. Is it going to take longer to get to my dream? Yes. Am I going to get to my dream? Yes. Getting to my dream never diminished. So being resilient and being persistent, hand to hand, because I knew where I was walking to. But if we don't have that, then it's very difficult to get up. It's very difficult to fight for something that you don't even know what it is.
Seems like before the spark also gave you a new awareness that something else is possible.
Of course.
And when you were looking into that something else, were there any specific questions that you were asking yourself? What would you tell somebody that maybe is in a similar situation? What supported you to
Yeah.
discover what was your dream?
So if I can chunk it into sections, at one point in time, my dream, I had it, I saw it. But I would say too big for me. That dream is for somebody else. Right? So
Yep.
that's one chunk of me. And then another chunk of me is it's really possible. I think, right? But then I was listening to that voice. And I'm like, I can do it, but not right now. And I would close my own doors.
Yes, I think many of us could relate to that one too.
And then I went through a process, Lucy, of trusting amazing mentors that said, you can do it, Ericka. And I'm here. And I trusted their belief in me because I didn't have it at the time. So I trusted someone else's faith in me, in my future, until I was strong enough to go, yes, it is possible. So I don't know, maybe that's how my mind works, but my mind works in analyzing situations step by step by step. Sometimes people see it very linear, right? And I see things happening, building a bridge that takes me to the other.
Love it. Like a links, like
And
a chain
building a
that is
bridge.
linked.
Yes,
Yes,
and
and
building.
bridged
Yeah,
steps. Uh-huh.
in the
Stepping
time that we,
stones.
yes, and then the time that we spend in any area, it all depends, right? It all depends on my own programming, my own conditioning, my own, personal values that maybe I needed to reinforce, or maybe I needed to unlearn in order to find, oh my gosh, there's a bridge there, and then go to the next phase.
That brought up the when you're saying one of connecting with the bridge to the another. I'm going back to your book because you've mentioned before that each letter of the persistence has a meaning. So in a way, each is almost like a stepping stone with bridging to the next one, and each of them has a lesson in it almost.
Yes. Oh my gosh, Lucy, when Leffer Fate, he is the retired command-in-chief that is an amazing leader himself. We were talking about writing a book together. And then as we are brainstorming, we thought, oh my gosh, how about, right? We're like little kids. How
I
about
love it.
if we make each letter like the word itself becomes an acronym, right? And each letter means something, and each letter is a chapter of the book, and we're like,
I
yeah,
love it.
right. And then we thought, how about if we invite other leaders? How about if we invite other people to talk about their journey? So yeah, like persistence in the book, the P stands for passion, and we have a specific leader sharing. And we made, Lucy's, I think it's pretty awesome that we made these people that have position, title, rank, and we brought humanity. We went away from, we took away that the position, rank, and title,
Almost like the labels
the
removed and
labels.
just looking at the heart, what's inside of the
Yes.
people.
So then we had individuals talking about who was the person in their life. Who was it that, that spark, that
I love
pivot,
that.
that pivot your life for you to end up at this level in the military? Uh, what made you stay in when people hated you in the military or didn't want your kind in the military? And that person walks through how hard it was for them not to be able to tell anyone what was going on at home. The military is like, We're here for you. But no, you're not. Because if I tell you that I'm gay, I will be kicked out. If I tell you that my significant other is the same sex as I am, I will pay terrific or horrific consequences. If I tell you that I was abandoned, if I tell you that I had to grow up with family members because and the stories, Lucy, are just that they compound in which, and there's obviously some happy stories of amazing childhoods of fishing and bonding and learning and everything else, but it's bringing humans at the human level, bringing amazing military leaders at the human level.
Beautiful. In a way, it reminds me of the Project Elephant, bringing different perspectives with the intention of us connecting instead of us looking at the differences that divide us as the reason why we cannot be together. How about we learn from each other's differences? And what I love about what you shared is really following what you said before, looking at not a group of people, be it men, be it whoever, political parties or whatever there is, as the enemies, but looking at the labels as the enemies in a way, the assumptions, the old beliefs that were not questioned for a long time, and bringing that in the book and looking at what are the stories, who are the people without those labels, who are we on a human level, no matter where we are coming from, how can we still connect with each other? And that's what I see in there through the stories and through the courageous sharing of the stories. So whoever, just like you are doing today now, so those women who, or even men who are in very bad situations, abusive situation, or situations where they feel there's nothing else probably possible and they feel hopeless or miserable, in pain, physical, emotional, through the stories just like you are sharing and all the other people that you've interviewed, that there is hope, that they are not alone, that it's part of life. You've said something at the beginning that I was like, you said expecting it's gonna be hard, something like that, that being prepared that it is gonna be hard, that it will take work. Did I hear it correctly?
Yeah,
Was it?
no, absolutely. I think that hope is amazing. And I can't remember, forgive me, I can't remember the book or who said it, but this was a World War II
Viktor
survivor.
Frankl?
Oh, I love Viktor Frankl, but no, someone
It
else.
wasn't, somebody else.
Yes, and he was a prisoner of war. Prisoner of war, and he's being interviewed, and they asked him, right, what, you survived, many died in captivity, and he says yes, and he goes, what's the magic, what's the secret, what's going on? And he says the people that were positive are the ones that died. And the reporter kind of
Interesting.
stops, like, what do you mean? And then he goes, well, we were captured. It was horrible conditions. And the people that were so positive that said, oh, this is nothing, we'll be out of here by Christmas. And they just kept denying the reality of the situation. That's why he goes, let me explain. Christmas came and went. And because Christmas came and went, they lost hope. And they died. He explains that he and a few others were able to survive because he was able to see the reality for what it was, uphill, hard, and then keep that hope that it was not going to be permanent, that that was going to end. A little bit of a difference, right, of how we can sometimes, and maybe some mentors, maybe some coaches is like positive, 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 positive. And some people's reality of life is, how can I be positive when I'm going through a divorce? How can I be positive when my child just died? How can I be, it's like what you're telling me doesn't make sense. And Lucy, I think that we have to, as professionals, we have to be careful on having this amazing balance of true reality. And the reality, everyone, is that your present condition does not dictate your future. Your present condition, good, bad, or ugly, does not dictate your future.
Love that. And that's where the hope is, it seems. Mm-hmm. Because no matter how painful, how horrible the circumstances, the condition can be at the moment right now, it doesn't mean it's going to be like that forever.
That's right.
And that there might be other people, just like the officer and mentors, as you mentioned later, that can contribute to those conditions changing. And I'm hearing also the belief that you borrowed the belief at the beginning, that even when they don't believe that it can be better, you kind of borrow it for a moment, or have a lone belief maybe that yes, it can be better.
Yes, borrow it from somebody else until you see it for yourself.
I love that. So they can borrow it from us right now, from you. What do you say? Do we loan it here?
No, but
give it for
Lucy,
free.
Yeah, no. Lucy, just think about it. Let's think about it. You and I have been in a dark room. We know where the chairs and the table and all this stuff is. We do.
Yeah.
And then here comes a beautiful soul. We're at the door, right? And not we, because we already been through the room. They need to go through the room to the other side. We're at the door. And I always tell this to leaders, because it can happen either way. You're at the door and they see you and they go, oh, I don't want to go there. Why? Because you played them before, because you hurt them before, because they don't trust you. And even though you've been in the room and you say, I can help you come with me, they'll go, no, thank you. I will stumble through that darkness for as long as it takes, but I don't want you near me. Ouch. But if you have a leader that says, I've been in the room, let me help you, and they take your hand, Lucy, you're still going to bump into furniture. You're still going to touch things, right? Because it's dark, but you're not going to fall. You're not going to be lost because you have that person that you're trusting guide you through that small period of time, not permanent, that small period of time where if you don't believe in yourself for that moment, that person does for you until you get to the other side.
That brings me to the other thing that I keep hearing with resilience, and that is support and community of others. And I'm thinking of your experience in the military, and you're saying the trust piece. From what I'm seeing and hearing, it seems there was the first of, this is possible. I am the one who needs to first save me, or allow myself to be saved at that moment instead of somebody else. So almost like I don't know if that would be trust or how you would call it at the moment. Belief. And the question that I had in my mind was, how would you say whom to trust and how? Who would be the right person to take them to the room? So somebody who says that they've been to the room, what would be the right, maybe right is not the right word, the process or the support that they could get? Because in the previous conversations, we're talking about people don't want to ask for help. They feel ashamed. I should go through the room by myself, no matter how much I get hurt. This is not good if I ask somebody else, because that would mean I am weak. Maybe these are the labels that could be the enemies. What's coming up for you? What would be the right guide in that place? And how do we find, if somebody is in that situation, how can they find an ally, maybe in the military, if that's relevant? Who did you know whom to trust?
I think
And
it was again, Lucy. It's outside of rank, outside of position. It's human connection.
Mhm.
It's a human connection in which if I see you at that door and you say, Ericka, I can help you, my body relaxes, I smile, and I go, yes, help me. But if that human connection is not there, it's going to be really, really hard for someone or for us to trust someone or for us to tell someone, I can help you. I can, people that don't know me, Lucy, and I can go, I'm here for you. I can help you. And they're like, no, thank you. Because we haven't built that relationship. We haven't built that human connection.
how would you say one builds a human connection?
By taking time to move yourself out of the way and making that other person in front of you more important, more important than you. Not all the time, but enough that that person truly feels like they belong, that that person truly feels like they matter to you, like they matter to you.
Beautiful. And it really speaks. You're walking the talk. You are showing up, as you're saying. You basically are sharing your story, that it's very courageous to share openly and honestly, because it seems that you are sharing the message of whoever is watching and hearing the story. You matter, you're valuable. Look at my journey. This is what I've been through. There's hope for, even in these situations, you can get through. And hear the message. Sometimes it's just all that the spark is needed just to hear that from somebody else and borrow that belief, and removing those labels and not having people as enemies, but seeing the labels as enemies, and connect on a human level, and really through the care, through the heart, and seeing the other person as valuable, and that way supporting each other in that way. That was very beautiful. Thank you, Ericka. I can't wait to have another conversation with you some other day, some other event. I'm sure we are gonna co-create more. When people would want to know more about you or read your book, what is the best way to reach you and connect with you?
To connect with me, Lucy, I am in LinkedIn. So I look forward to just truly, truly building a relationship with people there. And for my book, if people go to my website, the website is erickakellyenterprises.com. You'll see a little button that says persistence. and you
Yay.
click on it, and that will take you to the Amazon site for you to purchase the book.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. And I'll also put all the links under the video, wherever you're seeing it. It should be there. Again, thank you so much, Ericka, for sharing your story, sharing the message of worthiness, our innate human worthiness that all of us have with others, and bringing the sparks to share and spread in the world with others in the hearts.
I go back to the beginning of our conversation. My connection with you was immediate. I am honored to be in this platform with you. And what you just said is going to stay with me. I want to steal it. I want to take it away.
Totally take it. Yes. Let's multiply it.
Yes, human worthiness. Oh my gosh, I love it. I love it. I can't wait to collaborate with you, come back to this amazing room again. I just see great things in the future. And I thank you again for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Yay, and more sparks to all of us. Let's multiply it. Thank you.